when I see the film, I just immediately think back to the day that I was, sitting in my room, just sitting on my floor, waiting for, a call, any call. I mean, it would be my aunt, and I would get so mad because I was hoping it would be somebody else, you know what I mean? And I was just, the hours, the days were just so long waiting for this call, and I didn't even know if I was gonna get one or not, and so I was just, just that, anxious, constantly waiting, and I just thinking to myself, whoever gets this job is like winning the lottery.
So how does it feel like looking back and like seeing you talk like that and like being just so freaking excited?
I mean, first of all, that's hilarious. And I do still remember that like it was yesterday. Yeah, wow, that's so funny. I mean, listen, that was the reality of it. I guess if I knew anything, I knew that it was a big deal. I guess after you go in and you audition and you feel really good about it and you're hoping for that call, if you're even thinking that you might get it, then you feel really good about what you've done. And then it's like, at that point, man, yeah, it was such a wild experience, and I do feel like I freaking won the lottery with that whole thing. I mean, that role was incredible. The writing was amazing. The filmmakers, obviously, everything about that whole thing was perfect.
I don't know if you know this, but this year marks the 10-year anniversary of True Grit.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, December.
10 years?
Isn't that wild?
Wow, that's crazy.
What do you remember most about that time in your life?
It's so weird. There were so many of those moments that were so pivotal for me, obviously as a young woman and just in my career, that I'll never forget. But I think just overall, just being so super eager, and I don't know, I just remember myself running around and running down the hallways during press junkets and like getting to wear beautiful clothes, and I had my makeup done, and it was just like such a dream. And it was so amazing because I cried my eyes out the last day of shooting the movie because I literally thought the world was like coming to an end. And both Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon looked at me and they were like totally kind of like laughing under their breath, but they were like, kid, it's just the beginning. Meaning like at that point I was like, they were like, we're gonna see so much of you, you're gonna be sick of us. And I was like, I'm never gonna see you again. What do I do tomorrow morning when I don't have a call time? It was just such an amazing experience, and I had the most amazing people around me the whole time, so.
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with them at all, with Jeff or with Matt?
Yeah, I will. Emails are exchanged, and Josh and I actually don't live too far from each other, so we'll run into each other every now and then. They're amazing, those guys.
Any piece of advice that any of those guys on that set gave you that you still to this day hold dear to your heart?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there were so many. I mean, just being in their presence, I learned so much, and I still do to this day. If I'm on set, I'll find myself doing something or another that reminds me of them, and I know that I'm doing it because I learned it from them, and I guess I couldn't have dreamt of a better place to start. But one thing that I almost want to say all of them told me on separate occasions was to have fun and not take life too seriously, and that's something that obviously is, I mean, it's a very simple piece of advice, but it's so true and it's so important. And I think that their point in saying that was, at that point in my life, I'd never been on a movie set like that before. I didn't know what was coming, and I guess just hearing that and knowing and seeing how much fun they would have coming to work every single day, doing the best work and making the best art they possibly could. After that, they'd go home to their families, they'd come back and do it all over again. And it was just so amazing to see how wonderful and kind and positive and professional they were constantly. And they have fun, I will tell you that.
Looking at where your career has sort of gone since then, what's the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself since you set foot on that first set, and now looking at where you're at today?
What I love so much about what I do is I'm constantly challenged. I'm constantly, tested. My patience is always tested. My skills are constantly being tested. And I feel like every time I'm on a set, every time I'm in a studio, anytime I go to do what I do, I feel like it's the first time. I feel like there's so much I have to learn. There's so I have so far to go, but I don't know. I do feel like as I grow, I gain confidence in what I do and my abilities. And I think sometimes, like, if I could go back and make that movie now, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I feel like, I don't know, I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't want to because I don't want to touch it. But I think that would really teach me then what it is I've learned in all this time.
We do have to talk about some of your other projects. Dickinson season 2, had you guys started filming when everything sort of got shut down?
So we actually finished it a few months prior, which is great. So fun. I mean, just to, that was my first experience in the TV space, and not much time had gone between the shooting of season 1 and 2. So we kind of picked up right where we left off, and just, I don't know, it was just an amazing, experience to be able to do that. I didn't feel like I'd had the chance to do that before. So I have an amazing cast and crew, and we just really went in on season 2. So I'm excited for people to see it.
What should we look forward to about season 2? I know there's like new cast members.
The show it's pretty wild. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of unexpected, and there's just a hell of a lot more of that in season 2. So I'm excited to see it all come together myself. And yeah, I'm just, looking forward to it. So we'll see, a lot of craziness.
Do you think it'll come out like on the timeline it was supposed to come out, or is the post-production of it, are there holdups on that end?
As far as I'm aware, I believe everything's on track. But everything changes daily, so.
Do you know the date?
I don't know an actual official date.
Okay.
No, I do know obviously they're still in post-production and there's still some things being tied up, but hopefully it all stays on track.
What about an update to the next Spider-Verse movie?
Ooh, I don't have one, but I would like to know myself. Oh my God, that film is so good. I'm such a fan of that film. That sort of thing was, obviously, you don't know what it's gonna look like. You have ideas and you have people telling you and showing you, but you're like, okay, yeah, cool, all these sketches look awesome. But until it like came to life the way it did, I mean, nobody could have described that. It was so special. But anyway, no update as far as I know, but maybe I should figure that out.
What would you like to see next for Spider-Gwen? Is there anything that you have in mind?
Oh man, I'm not specifically. I think if you know her, you know she's capable of the world. So I think those storylines are almost endless.
Is the female-centric spin-off being talked about at all?
Not that I know of. I mean, I am not in the know with these things. It's funny because I feel like this is the time to figure it all out. But I do think obviously everything has kind of been slightly put on hold. So there hasn't been much that I've heard lately.
Okay. Would you do a Pitch Perfect 4?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that first movie, okay, I remember distinctly watching that thing in the theater and afterwards talking to my mom being like, if there's ever, that's the kind of movie I want to make. Everybody always asks me, what's the kind of movie? That's the one. And then when I heard that there was a sequel, I was like, what can I do? And then, yeah, to be a part of that as a fan of the franchise was just so, I still can't believe it.
How do we make that happen?
We need to start a petition.
Can you do that?
I can.
That's your job during quarantine.
Okay.